families, friends. So I'd like, either Dr. Dish Prabhu or Rukmini Mataji to say, start the discussions. And Balaram is our timekeeper, so he'll just allow us just a few minutes so that we get everybody to contribute also at the same time. So he might just say, thank you for, or he'll say something if we're going over time. Thank you, Dr. Dish Prabhu.
Krishna, just for clarity, what how long should we be speaking, and then how? I mean, it's just give us a little bit more sort of cue so that we know what direction we.
Okay, let me give you my 10 seconds response. So each person, we want as many devotees to contribute on particular points. Like you might say something, and then it would bring up some interesting point. And I could just maybe ask somebody to comment on that, or maybe want to take that further, depending on what you say also. But we'd like maybe to keep it to about 2 minutes, Balaram, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. So there's a small group of us today, so there's more time for each of us to share what's on our mind. So yeah, I think it's okay that if you want to speak a little bit longer, you can. Yeah.
Yeah, how many of us are meant to speak here? So just to get some understanding. Who are we? I see Rita and
yeah. So it's actually whoever's on the call now, Prabhu. That's those of us who will be speaking. But Vrajbasi Prabhu has also streamed this to the Facebook feed. So if anyone else wants to hear what we'll be saying, they can join us there. But for now, it's just, it's you and Mataji, Rita Vrajeshwari, Madhu, myself, and Bhima Prabhu.
Yeah, so we all, okay, obviously you'll also do the timekeeping. All right, okay, thanks. Yeah. All right, we obviously will speak from a Grihastha ashram perspective, just from from ourselves. And in terms of experience, what we may have, that little experience of that. I think in terms of, entering the Grihastha ashram and then, experiencing your relationships with other Grihastha couples, as well as temple devotees who may be brahmacharis, or, those that are, the youth who are not, who are practicing Krishna consciousness and looking at the Grihastha ashram. So, just myself, just when we got married, my idea at that time was more, just spirituality and become fixed up, and that's just the focus. I had a very wrong perspective of the Grihastha ashram, and one of those aspects was also I really didn't want to have a family, so that was one of the misunderstandings, from my perspective. But speaking to our spiritual master, and he said, look, why did you get married then in the first place? So let's just start. The Grihastha ashram is to expand, family life, and obviously in our case, it's expand the Krishna conscious movement. So to raise, upbring children who are Krishna conscious and can expand it in that way. So in terms of that, we've come a long way. One important thing is we have to be extremely practical in applying this Grihastha ashram, and how we apply it will determine how we can reach other devotees, or just other people out there at work, or you meet somebody on the street, etc., and all of that. But having said that, the Grihastha ashram is a very wonderful ashram in which together as a family we can we can help spread this Krishna consciousness movement. You can live a nice practical life. It can be, a full Krishna conscious life, depending how you apply yourself. So yeah, I think just as an introduction, I'll stop there. I don't know if maybe Rukmini, you want to say something.
So yes, initially when you do get married, your first couple of years, you're not too much involved in like spiritual life, but then later on you start to realize what's important. And I think you tend to make decisions, what is good for your spiritual life. And when you come to that point, then you can understand, okay, this is what I want. If I have children, this is what I want for them too. You sort of discipline yourself. And since the time we had Indra Chaitanya as a baby, I think both decided, we both knew, okay, this is what we want for him. And we've sort of made sure we pushed him in that direction, not pushed him in a sense, in a good way, to take up spirituality, and also to like how we train our children normally, go to school, learn ABC, 1, 2, 3. We also made it a point of teaching him who Krishna is. And I think that's very important from a young age. And for them to like it, and it must be given with love. So I think that was very important, because there were 2 of us. And, every night he would go to bed, we would read him one pastime of Krishna and make him understand who this is, who the Asuras are. And I think he sort of developed a liking for it, and not too much on the material side, but there was a balance. He had to go to school. And when he went to school, it was a bit of a challenge, because, you're introducing your child to a different world. And we had to say, okay, this is how we do things. There are people out there who do things differently, but this is what we follow, and you should try and follow this way. And this is how our family is going, which path we're taking. Every family has a path that they want to follow. So I think that's very important, that you both parents are on one page and give, the child a sense of belonging, and also a sense of knowing what is right and wrong from an early age. So I think in that sense, we sacrificed a lot. And also like going to the Dham, looking what life was on that side, understanding, how it's simple life, and it's so rather be simple and have a better, quality of life. So it was simple living and high thinking, I think. We try to follow that, and also then understand, okay, our duties as Grihastas, it's not just us, there's expanded family, there's God brothers, there's God sisters, how to take association and how to serve. And we also were very fortunate in that sense, that we had a lot of association from senior devotees, lots of sannyasis. And I think to get the blessings from them also was very important. So we tried to serve to the best of our capabilities. And I think, it paid off right now. Indra is so enthusiastic, which we're very happy about. And we try and also include other devotees, and, be the Grihasta couple and be parents to others also. It's not just, us, because there's lots of association that we can take and give. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Prabhu and Mataji, for that wonderful description of basically your entire life encapsulated in a few minutes. But what I picked up, and what I think is also important to me as a Grihastha and as a father and an aspiring devotee, is that you mentioned something very maturely and very honestly, Dwarkadish Prabhu. You said there were some misunderstandings. And until, you know, your spiritual master, you know, challenged your understanding of Grihastha Ashram. So that's an interesting and also very important thing to bear in the conversation as we go forward, is that do we have misunderstandings as Grihasthas? Older devotees, more senior devotees are admitting such a thing. And I'm sure I have maybe many misunderstandings also along the way that I've learned from. And that makes very healthy conversation, is when we can actually admit something that, you know, some sort of weakness, or maybe some sort of, as well, the right word again is misunderstanding that we've had, and bring it to a discussion like this and share it with other devotees. So that fosters a very powerful mood of honesty. So we'll keep that as maybe one of the, you know, key points in this dialogue, the misunderstanding. And then to the point that you said that maybe you even considered, you know, not having any children, and that is a true phenomenon within ISKCON. We see that, I see as a Grihastha, because we have Grihastha, you know, we have Grihastha lenses or glasses. Maybe we see things easily as Grihasthas in Grihastha Ashram that maybe, you know, the saffron-clad brahmachari or the temple resident devotee will not see, because they don't have that, maybe that experience or that kind of acuity. So you know, Rukmini Mataji, the entire description was the responsibility of raising a child in Krishna consciousness. And I think that is like the pinnacle makeup of Grihastha Ashram, is to raise children in Krishna consciousness. And even Prabhupada said that Grihastha means children. That's what he said. Grihastha equal children. It's like a mathematical formula. It's like, you know, it's a principle that cannot be broken. You can't, unless for some extenuating circumstances. So two things is like the theme of honesty that Dwarkadish Prabhu brings to the conversation, of admitting the, you know, the frailties maybe, and also the theme of the central theme of Grihastha Ashram of raising a child, and you also mentioned it wasn't easy. So I like to highlight those and appreciate those points also. And we'd like to now maybe ask is Viday and Rajeshwari to contribute, because they are young parents also. They have a child that's maybe 3 now, going on. She looks like 10 to me though. She's so mature and so intelligent. So as young parents, I guess we'll give you the platform now to share something from your perspectives and from your experience in your practical life. Thank you.
Okay. Hare Krishna, everyone. So just some thoughts in my mind going on about this conversation is how our lives as Grihasthas have changed over this period of lockdown and all of that, and almost the lack of association that would normally have with, you know, senior Grihasthas. You know, now it's really much more of a close-knit sort of, you know, just a few friends and immediate family members that you're associating with because of, you know, the current circumstance. But interestingly enough, and I just want to go back to a point that my mother-in-law mentioned to me last night, was that you know, back in her day, she feels like she almost kind of like missed you know, Hriday's childhood, because there was so much service to be done, and there was constant service that, you know, the kids kind of just had to find their way along this path when the older devotees were so much engaged in service, to now where we're, you know, locked down, we can't even attend temple, and we're, you know, missing it so sorely. But now it gives us a lot more time to invest in our families, in our immediate families. And here's Hema, the little princess with lots of attitude, and yeah, just give us more time to invest in our families and really try and go a little bit deeper. And for me personally, I try, and, you know, I wish I was better at it, but I try every day to find gratitude for my, you know, for Hriday, for Hema, for the, you know, amazing life that we've been given in Krishna consciousness, in whatever we've been given. We're really truly fortunate, and that's something I try to practice every day. And yeah, I think just in terms of Grihastha Ashram, like Prabhu mentioned, that I mean, it's not easy. You are going to have disagreements, and you're going to have moments where you're not quite grateful for each other. But you know, it's always kind of reminding yourself to bring it back to that point of, you know, to this person, and the reality of our situation is, and how often we're losing people right now to this deadly virus. We've got to stop and think, you know, what would life look like without this person, without my family, and it really truly helps us to be grateful. So I think that's something, as devotees, as non-devotees, we can appreciate. And I guess obviously what we have even more so than those not practicing Krishna consciousness is Krishna consciousness in the family, and it makes, you know, life, even if it's secluded from the outside world, that much more enriching, you know, to be able to, you know, do artis together and read, you know, Krishna pastimes together, like Mataji is saying. And I thought it was so sweet that, you know, Andhra Chaitanya was read, you know, his pastimes every night. And that's kind of what we are doing with Hema now. Before we go to bed, you know, we're reading her pastimes, and she very much enjoys the, you know, the demon pastimes in Vrindavan. So it's a very important and special time, I think, that we're being given, even though we're missing out on a lot of service. And you know, Hema constantly speaks about Krishna Kitty's class, even though she's been to so few. But it's funny how she's become so attached so quickly to this aspect, you know, to Krishna conscious life, really. And it's truly wonderful. So how we're really looking forward to when we can really be part of a larger society, so that as a family, you know, there's so much more support in the larger community. There's so much more engagement and enriching our lives when we're part and associating with the larger community. I know that we've spoken in previous sessions about you know, a deeper association, where you're really opening up our hearts and making us, you know, making ourselves vulnerable, where we're, you know, expressing our deep and darkest feelings, and really helping each other grow in that way. But I think when you look at it from a family perspective, there's a different dynamic to it as well, in terms of you know, family plugging into a community and what that means for a family and how it enriches a family. And I think that is a very important thing, which, yeah, we're sorely missing right now.
Thank you. Hriday.
Hare Krishna, everyone. So yes, I like the points that were made, and I like that Dwarkadish Prabhu and Mataji mentioned that Grihastha Ashram becomes it basically focuses on you having a child, you know, and growing into that kind of aspect in your life. And one of the African proverbs is it takes a village to raise a child, and that's something that I can speak to from my experience growing up in ISKCON. Like, so with my parents being involved in services, and you know, they always took us to the temple, but it's not to say that we were with them all the time, but I was always with the association of other devotees. So I used to be with brahmacharis, so I used to be with Nishinga and Nishinga Prabhu and Marji Mataji, and you know, I had that kind of association, and that's something I'm very thankful for, because I mean, I've definitely learned great values, and they definitely took me under their wings and taught me certain lessons that I still practice and keep to myself. I keep them to myself dearly and focus on them. So yes, being in lockdown has helped us internalize and on our own Krishna consciousness, and as well as on our own family. Also helps you focus on issues that are sometimes overlooked when you are busy with everything else in your life, you know. So now that your life is not so busy, you focus at home, it gives you the chance to actually unpack the issue and work towards repairing it or making it okay. And yeah, I mean, I'm very thankful for the time that I've got to spend with Hema and Vajeshri at home. And I mean, we've definitely taken a few steps in terms of welcoming Gonitai at home, and they've helped us introduce some regulation into our life. And I can honestly tell you there's a big difference in our daily practices from just over the past year compared to all the other years we've been married. So one of our good friends, Agari Prabhu, we knew him from Wits. I'm sure you all know, you all remember Agari. And he was our close friend. And I remember we just got married, and Gary used to be that friend that used to pick at us and ask us like, so how's your spiritual life doing? How's your japa doing? How's your reading doing? You know, and that's something I appreciated, because sometimes when you're with friends, you tend to talk about everything else besides that. So he was that one friend that he'll sit us down at a table and he'll talk to us, and we'll tell him, like, we're struggling here, there, because it's new to us, right? We have to adapt to each other's schedules and each other's timelines. But he always emphasized that we should get deities at home, because deities would bring in regulation, will help regulate our activities. And I can see exactly every word that he's spoken to me about. I can see it being fructified within the house, within the home. When the deities are served, they bring like this, they sort of introduce a center for everyone to focus at. So in the morning you go and you wake them up, you focus on them, you offer them something to eat. In the day there's some kirtan, in the evening there's some kirtan and arti, and then you offer them cooked bhoga again. So I mean, our lives became centered around them. So even if I come to my parents' house, we bring the deities along with. So it's just something that I found to be very important for a Grihastha ashram, and especially for a child, to be in this kind of environment. My Guru Maharaj always made it known to me that you need to create a Krishna conscious environment in the home. And that means whether it's kirtan playing in the background, whether it's arti here and there, whether you're reading pastimes, Krishna always needs to be the center, and that needs to be the focus of a Grihastha ashram. So I'm not sure if I'm going over time.
It's a good time to give us a chance also.
So I've been making some notes as you were speaking, and as your wife was speaking, and then as Rukmini and Dwarkadish Prabhu were speaking. So, so before we move on from Relay Chaitanya, I'd like to, the two of you spoke about some wonderful things also, and I'm just going to bring maybe 2 points from each of you that spoke. Rajeshwari mentioned something, losing the association of devotees. Now, we never thought we could lose the association of devotees until this pandemic came along. And maybe in other situations around the world currently, and even previously, maybe even the last few decades, devotees have lost association, but we've had the privilege of not losing association. And to me, that's quite something. I never thought of it in that way. And you've actually mentioned those words, losing devotee association. And that's, Maharaj Yudhishthira speaks about that. The greatest pain is the separation from devotees. Now we're actually living this. We're living this experience that he experienced during the Mahabharata time. And so that's one really powerful thing that has happened to us that has basically shaken our Krishna consciousness. And then we have to, well, firstly, when it's shaken like that, we discovered a lot of things about ourselves. I think everybody can admit, devotees, non-devotees. Even our dog is confused that we're at home 24/7. So even he knows there's something up during this pandemic. So many things we've discovered that we would not have discovered prior to this pandemic. And, it might sound cliche now that this pandemic and coronavirus is coming up in all conversations. But then I wonder, at one point I wondered, should we stop talking about this pandemic and just talk about Krishna consciousness? Actually, no, it's such an integral part of our Krishna consciousness because it has changed so much in our Krishna consciousness. And it's forced us to look at adjusting the way we practice Krishna consciousness, especially association. That has been taken off the table completely in a sense. So losing association is something that you brought up. And another thing is you brought up is, Rajeshwari, was the support from the community. And Hriday echoed that point about he can really attest to this fact that it takes a village to raise a child. And so this community support is probably the reason why Srila Prabhupada created this society in the first place. I mean, he could very well have stayed in Vrindavan. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he didn't go and start a global movement as easily as they could have done it. Lord Chaitanya could have done it. He could have just appeared in America. He didn't have to take a boat, and he could have started the movement back then. But Srila Prabhupada did this. So there's specific, I think there's a specific mission objective here. And he said many times also, it's the Societies for Association. And that, when that association is taken away, like Vijeshwari mentioned, we lose the association. It's a big disruptor in spiritual life. We find that we go through some areas of weakness. I found that for myself personally, areas of some, period of weakness for a year. And we had to find, try and find, some sort of stability by maybe engaging more in a certain type of activity within Krishna consciousness. For the two of you, you say, since the deities have come into the house, it's become a central part. Now moving on to what Hridaya Chaitanya Prabhu was saying, the deities have become central in your lives. It has given you purpose. It has given you some sort of, the word I would use, because I can't remember exactly what you said, but it has given the family kind of regularity. And amongst all the devotees that are here also, and many other devotees that maybe not here, we find that those that are stronger and somewhat stable in Krishna consciousness, and consistently practicing from day to day, from hour to hour even, are those that have taken to deity worship. And I think that's also a very key point that Hridaya mentioned, that is central to Grihastha Ashram. And if you just compare it to maybe those who don't have, deities within their home that they're serving and making the center of their lives, then you can see there's a huge difference, obviously. Another thing you said, Hridaya Prabhu, is that you're very thankful for this family time. Sorry, that's my wife's phone on that side there. Just give me a second, maybe I'll just mute it. Balaram, you can carry on saying something if you want to. All right.
I didn't need to. Clearing my throat was enough.
Yeah, sorry, Balaram, to cut in, and I don't want to lose my train of thought. So deities, you mentioned, Hridaya Chaitanya, we see that as central to all serious Vaishnavas' lives, and thankful for the family time. So basically now we're forced to associate with who? Who are the devotees we're associating with? Except for, our semi-brahmachari Balaram there. We have family members we can associate with. And that has turned out to be such a blessing. Of course, it's an austerity also, right? Because Prabhupada said, the greatest austerity, I remember reading this, and it shocked me. Greatest austerity is to live with devotees, he said. Not following principles here and, 4 regulated principles and 16 regulated principles. He said, greatest austerity is to live with devotees. And I think we've had that platform, that experience over the year and a half to see that, wow, it's tough to live with my husband. Wow, it's tough to live with the wife. Because we discovered things now, we're associating on such a deep level. Talk about deep level association, Rajeshwari, you mentioned that earlier. We associate.
Carry on, Balaram.
I think there's a connectivity issue. Looks like he's joining us.
Yeah. So just to finish off what Rajeshwari also said, or rather Hridaya Chaitanya said, and true to the words of his spiritual master, Kadamakananda Swami, we must make our homes spiritual. Whether it's kirtan playing in the back, he said, or something else, I think you mentioned. But we find that having the deity and having, the kirtan, it's a double whammy. And if we can add more and more principal devotional activities to Grihastha Ashram, it becomes that much more secure, that much more powerful, actually. Like, especially as a Grihastha, what I focus on is the 5 principal limbs of devotional service. Shrimurtaye, worshipping the deity, Harinam, Nam Ruchi, meaning obviously chanting the holy name. Then we have, this is my life now. We have Prabhupada playing there as much as we can. You know, we're worshiping the deity, as we said, and we're trying to make, and that, you know, creates like this Mathura Varsi atmosphere, the atmosphere of it being the holy Dham. And then also the other activity of Bhagavat Seva, meaning really studying Srila Prabhupada's books and reading Srila Prabhupada's books on a regular daily basis. So who will be up next after this? Thank you for sharing those wonderful things, thoughts and points with us, the four of you. I think we'll move on now to maybe Madhu or Balaram. You can decide who wants to speak now.
Balaram can go.
Well, I don't want to say too much just yet. I'd like for the other devotees to also speak. Before we continue, okay, there we go. Prabhu's camera is readjusted. The feeling that I was hearing from everyone here, and got me thinking of the different generations of Grihastha ashram we have here on the call. I see all you guys as role models to me, especially for both of us now officially entering Grihastha ashram soon. Whatever I've heard, it's giving me a very clear indication of the conversations that need to happen. Some of them have already happened, but still to reiterate them around you sharing your life with someone. It's no longer, I can no longer only think of myself. So I need to, at every point, consider my partner's opinions and feelings and goals, keep them in mind, because we're serving each other. And I think that hearing what everyone else has said here, I can see that there's that mood of wanting to please the partner in that same way. And Krishna has given us this responsibility to take care of our partners. So being in Grihastha ashram means that our partners are just as more, they're more precious to us than ourselves, because they are our first priority, at least before kids come along. So for me, I just like to say that I'm very grateful to have all of you in my life and to see you all as role models. And I hope that we can continue helping each other. I don't know how much service I can offer to all of you on the call, but I can almost guarantee that I will be bugging you guys and nagging you guys about different questions that Madhu and I may have, different difficulties we may be going through, different crossroads. And yeah, that's what I like to say. Madhu.
Okay, so I feel like I have more to learn from this conversation than to add to this conversation, because I'm not yet in Grihastha ashram officially. I don't have a child, so I don't know the dynamics of it. But I would like to say something that Rajeshwari spoke about was that this time in lockdown, as much as we miss the bigger devotee community, it's really allowed us to invest in our families. Well, for me, it's just me and Balaram, so it's a very small family so far. But I feel like it's really given us a chance to, not only just on a personal level, but like we did Bhakti Shastri together when we started doing that in lockdown. And it was actually really nice to be able to not cut out everyone, but really just have these conversations with each other and create that space, like ask each other questions, discuss different things, and just like unpack some of the problems or issues or like difficulties we have in spiritual life. Like it allowed us to have those discussions. Whereas sometimes I feel like when we were part of the greater community and it was rushing from one program to another program to another program, we kind of missed out on that time. And it was, well, for us, since we're not actually together, it's like only phone call time. And then we missed out on having like really, really important conversations, which I think we got a chance to have this lockdown. And also, like, I know in the previous sessions of discussing Sadhu Sangha, it gave us, like we were talking about being vulnerable and opening up, and that's what devotee association means. But then taking it back to like a smaller setting, it also like allowed us to really understand what is association. And because sometimes you have association and then you bring all these subtle things back into your personal space, and then that becomes like a thing that you have to deal with. But like this way, with this timeout, it really allowed us to get onto the same page regarding what we thought was fundamental for us. And then like it allowed us a chance to regroup before we get back out there into the larger community. So yeah, like I said, I don't really have too much to add, but I do want to say, like, everything Brajeshwari was talking about, like I resonated with it from my smaller point of view. And I definitely feel like we're going to be holding on to you devotees. Rukmini Mataji, Dwarkadish Prabhu, we you know that we're there. Brajeshwari Hridai, we're there. Bhima Prabhu, Krishnalaya Mataji, we're holding on to you really tight because we have a lot to learn from you. But yeah, that's my 2 cents. Yeah.
2 Bitcoin cents, maybe it's worth a lot actually. So now I want to spur on some questions and maybe ask some questions that could maybe change the way we do things for the better. So like the question would be for me, what would we do differently when things go back to normal? And that's based on the experience we've had over the last year and a half. Maybe it'll go till the end of the year, 2 years maybe, before we all get vaccinated and, you know, are allowed to be freely associating in Krishna consciousness and otherwise. So what would we do differently is my question. Like, Krishna, you've showed us, you know, this pandemic can destroy the association of devotees that we took for granted maybe. And maybe, you know, not maybe, but definitely there's big lessons to be learned. So when we go through this should be a painful experience. If you're not feeling some pain, like Maharaj Yudhishthira, if you're not feeling some pain because of the larger, you know, loss of association of devotees, then we should really question, like, you know, the value that we give to devotee association. And I think this is, we will not have another time like this. Where we haven't had this kind of experience in the last 100 years, because the Spanish flu in 1918 was the last thing that happened like this. That separated people indefinitely. So the question is like, okay, we're feeling the pain of the lack of devotee association. And now I say that with tongue in cheek because I've got like a few devotee families out there in the backyard at the fireplace. And there's a Father's Day thing going on because my daughters have organized, it's some of my friends, like, you know, Sundarananda, Prem Kishore, Krishna Smarnam and family. There's like 20 devotees gathering there already outside. So what would we do differently now that we've lost devotee association in a serious way? How would we increase the quality of our association? Now that means, like, going back to how Braj Brasi Prabhu likes to steer the dialogue, is that what would we do practically? What would we do practically? And what would we do differently? And that also has to be, I would say, not I would say, but I mean, this goes without saying really, has to be in line with it pleasing our spiritual master, with it pleasing Srila Prabhupada and Krishna. Because we also have to bear Krishna's agenda in mind. What does he want us to do in terms of association? We talk about depth of association. That is a key word that has come up previously in the last two dialogues. It's come up again today. Rajeshwari mentioned it again, and it is extremely important. How are we going to deepen our association with devotees, and what are we going to do practically? So I have ideas. We're doing them now. We have some devotees over. We'll have you over when you're available, and when COVID Prabhu allows. We'll have our get-togethers. So for me, and maybe I'm giving you a big part of the answer. For us and our family, we find, and Balaram and Madhu know this. I am the Chaitanya. Chaitanya knows this also. We like having devotees over, and we like serving devotees. It's based on wonderful things like kirtan, and it's based on prasadam, and it's based on conversations. For us that means sadhu sangha, and it's based on the deity also. We have the deity. So. And we discuss Krishna consciousness, and we discuss other things also, no doubt about that. And that's what makes our relationships condense, become thicker, is that we can also discuss other things. Somebody likes cars, somebody likes a little bit of technology. We can talk about those things, because in my opinion, anything that's discussed amongst devotees is devotional. So that's my question. Like, I want to ask each of you, and anybody can respond first and second, what would we do differently, and what should we do differently to increase the quality of association when things normalize? Tough question.
I probably have more to say, but I'm gonna just touch on what, there's a couple of things that on my mind is that, there's so many devotees that, we take inspiration from. As parents, as me resonating with strong women in Krishna consciousness in so many different ways, and I haven't actually even expressed to them that they inspire me in whichever ways they do. And for me, I think that's where I'd like to start, just to express how much they inspire me and the gratitude that I have for them and what they represent in my life, even though it may not be, hanging out on the weekend with these devotees, but, just observing them and, their behavior, mannerisms, and just how, giving me a direction, giving me a good example and something to strive toward. Is something that I've really, I've been really missing for the last year, and it's difficult without, that inspiration, without, being reminded of who we want to be, because if we're not continuously striving to improve ourselves and better ourselves, and in being decent human beings and being devotees, then then we're just maybe wasting our lives. So yeah, it's hard without those devotees that I resonate with, and that I take inspiration from. And it's not just the older devotees, although I think where I am in my life right now, and where I have been over the last 3 or 4 years, having a young family, from being pregnant to having Hema, to watching these moms like care for their children and watching their kids grow up to be wonderful little kids and devotees, and just how they've nurtured them. It's something that I've focused on naturally over the last couple of years. And to see them turn out to be wonderful human beings and wonderful devotees is so inspirational. So yeah, I definitely like to express more and take more personal association with those devotees that I look upon from afar with doting eyes, and a lot of and yeah.
Dai, you want to add to that or share something also? Well, in relation to the question, I guess, because it's like me prodding you in the ribs. What would you do differently? How would you show your appreciation? One of the words I hear too often, and to the point of you know, me almost blurting out, okay, is gratitude, right? Everybody is into the, you know, into being grateful for devotee association, being grateful for the spiritual master, being grateful for so many things. But, you know, somebody just said the other day, I was reading a book, actually Elon Musk said, talk is cheap. Meaning, okay, I can say I'm grateful eternally. I'm eternally grateful. We write that in offerings, we write that in appreciations. But gratitude to me, and I'm going to be blunt and hard because I know each of you, gratitude to me means I have to do something. Like somebody said to Prabhupada, oh, Prabhupada, I love you. Prabhupada said, do something practical. That's what he said. So what will we do as Grihastas to show our appreciation for our friends, our family members even, because, you know, we have to do something there. And what would we do practically? Like, I think personally is actually, you know, having devotees over, forcing them over. Ask Balaram how many times I've forced him over, you know, whatever the case may be, but come over and, or we meet up somewhere and we share the, you know, prasadam experience, the kirtan experience, sharing this different principal activities in Krishna consciousness. So for me, it means actually doing something. So gratitude is not a word. It's not just a verb. It's actually something we have to do. There has to be things we do to demonstrate gratitude. So before you can go on, sorry I said that. But that's how strongly I feel about it. Gratitude means I have to do something for Vajeshwari and for Hridaya Chaitanya and for Hema. Not that I'm so grateful that you are, you know, in our congregation. Oh, sure, I must show my gratitude. Put my my money where my kachori goes, you know, where my mouth is. Hridaya.
Yeah, so Prabhu, I definitely resonate with you in the sense that inviting devotees home into your place, serving them with prasad and engaging in those kirtans and having those conversations, whether it's Krishna conscious or even if it's not Krishna conscious. That is something that we have been doing for a while, but definitely do it more and try and actually steer it to more fruitful conversations. So try and be serious, because I find a lot of us try to steer off the serious conversations that we need to have, you know, and a lot of things go unsaid. And I mean, if we're real and we need to be real with our friends, we need to have those serious conversations as well. Yeah, but I mean, differently, there's not much I can say I would do differently. I mean, I definitely enjoy cooking for devotees when they come home. You know, it's something I like to do and serve, and it's something I've learned to do in marriage. Like Rajeshi put this note where she says, her Guru Maharaj says, love is service. And that is exactly it, you know, and it's something that Rajeshi has been helping me try to practice daily as well. She's helping me practice gratitude, because I mean, naturally you get caught up in your own world, and you tend to not see everything that's actually helping you in your Krishna conscious life and in your daily life, you know. So it's something I've been trying to practice daily, and I'm not a person to write up theoretical or, you know, put up all this philosophical posts on Facebook or Instagram or whatever. I'm a person that actually prefers to do it, you know, and show it, and I don't need it to be shown on Facebook or whatever. So for me, the way I show it is to my family and to my very close friends. So family, I mean, that includes my parents, Rajeshri's parents, you know, my brother, my sister-in-law. I try and show my love to them by actually doing things for them. So it's something that I hope to actually do more of, you know, and do more of in a more focused way. So I actually want to also start in, I don't know if this is the place to talk about it, but I mean, I want to start inviting seniors home as well. You know, we started with Bhakti Chaitanya Swami a few years ago, and I can see it was such a joy serving them, because we actually got other devotees come and assist as well. And having seniors over, and seniors doesn't only mean gurus, you know, it means senior Vaishnavas in our community, like yourself, you know, Prabhu, and Dwakadish Prabhu, you know, I mean, because I feel you guys actually help us in terms of keep our conversations focused in a way, you know, and help us focus on the right things in the night.
Sorry, before we move off topic, I just want to just a quick response, Bima Prabhu, to your point of gratitude is to do. And Redai mentioned my little note where I saw a quote of my Maharaj recently, and he says, you know, love is service, and if there's no service to be done, then we find some way to serve, and that is how we show love, really. But you know, when I say, so when I talk about the practice of gratitude, I think it has to be meditated on and felt truly before it can be acted on for it to be deep and meaningful. So, you know, and yeah, maybe that's just, and I think everyone's different in that way, but just to, it's almost just to change your mindset and just to be able to get you into a positive mindset where you see things positively and therefore able to conduct yourself in a more positive way and do more positive acts. That's kind of how I see it. Yeah, and you're definitely right. It has to be transformed into an activity. But how do you get there? You know, how do you get to showing it? And what is that process? You know, so.
I think you know, the statement that your spiritual masters made, love is service, that sums up everything about gratitude. Service means activity. It means doing something, you know. Imagine if and I'm just going to throw this out there, like if I said to my wife, oh, you know, I appreciate you, and I say this year after year after year, oh, I'm so grateful for you, but I don't bring her flowers, or I don't buy her something nice, or I don't do something nice. So what, you know, it's not to say that I'm speaking about present company. It's wonderful that we even have gratitude as a concept, not even as a concept, as a goal in our spiritual lives, because many people don't even have that, you know. So that's really much appreciated. But as I said, I'm asking these questions just to poke, like I said, to poke Redai in the ribs, and to poke everybody else in the ribs. And you could very well ask me the very same questions, or even, you know, more hard-hitting questions. What are we going to do as Grihastas to change? One of the things I feel that's very close to us, and Dwarkadish Prabhu, I had the privilege of going, you know, on a program like this with you once, maybe even twice, is distributing prasadam, food for life kind of programs. I think this is one of the pillar activities that Grihastas should be very, very sincerely invested in, not only invested in, but we should be doing this hands-on, practical hands-on. So this Food for Life program also, of course, COVID, we can't do much, but that's something we should get together, and that brings us together to associate. And after that hard work, you know, we can use, we can do some sort of relaxing kind of social activity. And I'm not afraid to use the word social myself, because society, this international society, in that word is, yes or no? Where does this word society come from? It's a great big society of human beings, and human beings, we know, are social creatures. Society means to be social. It's another kind of word for associating. Associate, obviously. I don't want to check the the root word for this, but associate also comes from, to my mind, from the word social. So, you know, associating meaning some social activity, some real interaction, besides, as we said before, besides just in the temple environment. So Dwarkadish Prabhu or Madhu wants to go and say something. Anybody else that's on this call who maybe wants to make a comment can raise a hand.
Yeah.
I'll see you.
Yeah,
any other participants, if you want to say something.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. I think your, you know, the talk around what will we do after lockdown in terms of, you know, the value of association and you know, how will we do things differently? I think one of the things for me, it's maybe a little bit different. In terms, I think all of us like to welcome devotees, you know, to our homes, and you know, to serve them and have some nice sadhu sangha association. That we do it. So that that physical aspect of that, obviously we've, it's been reduced in this lockdown. During the lockdown here and there, we had those types of association, but, with the level of the COVID risk, we all have become a little bit more cautious, etc. And that, for me personally, in terms of association, I find, look, two kinds of association. One is that, it's nice when you go to the temple, you meet devotees, but it's very quick. You may greet maybe 20 to 30 devotees. You may just have a very short conversation. So there's not much time in that to really ask deep questions or get some conversation going there. It would just be, just politely asking devotees how they're doing, or, catch up on something. The other side for me is that, the kind of guidance I've received from many devotees, and many of them are like sort of relatively old, etc. And you don't see them coming temple all the time. Yeah, it's difficult for them. So my association with them has always been, Fonka, many years. It's before a lockdown also. And, keeping a nice sort of conversation. And I've always had to, ask for, assistance in deep questions, etc. and all this. So I haven't really missed out on that side of things, because it's a phone call away. Like just yesterday, I was reading Bhagavatam a few days ago, and I had something to ask. So I spoke to a devotee, and we spoke for about an hour and a half. And I didn't feel that, I was missing out, because I've always done this here to take that initiative. And then during this lockdown, I think I've had more association with hundreds of different devotees around the world. I've never listened to maybe 3 classes in a day. I've been able to do that. It's so wonderful. You tend to, go more on darshans, and you really see what earrings Radharani is wearing today, or what flowers are at the lotus feet of Lord Gauranga or Krishna Balaram. You just see, like somebody sends you before lockdown, somebody see you. My appreciation has really intensified. It's increased in that regard. In terms of, online programs, I've come to appreciate so many devotees from senior to juniors, and who are so powerful and who can give so much of guidance and association. So that platform is there, but during normal activities, we are working the whole day at office. We don't have that opportunity. At home, we can squeeze in these things. The boss has been exploiting us too much. So we're getting that time to do it. We didn't have time for all these things. So that part of things are there. I think at home, I think all 3 of us, we've deepened our service a lot, making sure daily there's, fresh, lovely flowers. I go in a garden and look for the best flowers, whatever there is, try and offer the Lord. We think about what you want to offer the Lord. So many other activities. So the deepening side is there. Yes, we must that embrace, and we must that, Bhima Prabhu, you said the social side of, yes, sometimes it's nice just to sit down and crack a few jokes and, to talk about something a little lighter. It's also important and healthy. We don't have much time, so I'll just close with one other point. When Rukmini was speaking earlier on about giving a balance to a child, this is for, maybe younger Grihastha couples, and those that are going to go into Grihasthashram. I just want to share something. Yes, they need a balance in terms of also, you have to interact with many people out there. So when, Ayendra was in primary school, he went to a private school, so it was okay because they didn't have to wear uniform, etc. Like, it wasn't like they had to wear uniform, but it wasn't really very strict in terms of your hair and all of that. So when he went to high school, he was accepted, and then we received this communication, your hairstyle, your hair has to be like this, short, this, that, finger, your nails, etc. And then we realized he's got a very long sikha. What are we going to do? So yeah, I met the teacher during orientation, and then I wrote to her a letter. I said, look, my son, we believe, we follow the Hare Krishna, practice of devotional service, and one of the things, we have a sikha, and then I explained to her what a sikha is, and also she said, look, you know what, I like your sincerity and bravery, but we have rules. So, but I'm going to make it an exception. We can meet the principal. So we went to school, we spoke to the principal, we explained to him what the significance was, etc. and all that.
He also researched.
And he said, yes, I researched all of that. And look, you know what? He can keep his sikha. So sometimes we mustn't be too, scared, or just think, look, we have to do this, cut sikha, or, we have to do this. And sometimes stand up for your values that you have, but what Prabhupada has given us in that regard. And also for him, one thing that stands out, that is because, we all give our children and a strong foundation, what they eat, how they should interact. But he had some wonderful friends at school. And, it's not nice that we think that it's my way, Krishna conscious way and everything, him being a vegetarian, and some of his friends, it turns out that, when you pray deeply to the Lord, Krishna arranges association for you, with friends at school also, that have some inquiry and interest in spirituality or what you have. And he ended up with many friends on that like-minded, one or two of them were vegetarians, one turned into a vegetarian. They had nice relationship. They would be that mature. They're not like, that rowdy, someone wants to smoke. It just turns out nice. So we must have faith in Krishna and this process. We can't be people, but we have to stand our ground in our beliefs. And we must take that message in a very nice way. Many people we interact with are very loving, nice people out there. And our impression, if we give a good impression, it's going to stand out. Thank you. Rukmini, do you want to say?
Yeah, just to say, definitely during COVID, we definitely missed out on, having the association of wonderful devotees. But in the end, I realized, this is also coming as a test from the Lord to say, okay, what are you planning to do with this time that I've given you now? Extra time, extra time with family. How are you going to handle all this? So it's also definitely about deepening your relationship with Krishna that, I've come to the understanding that, it gives me more time to serve the Lord nicely. And yes, it's sad that we couldn't serve so many devotees, which I really also love to do. And I was also missing serving my spiritual master, which I also enjoy quite a bit. But it worked out quite nicely right now that we could, serve him nicely, serve some good prasad. And I was very pleased with that, even during this time. And understanding that I shouldn't take it all for granted. I understand that we all were so spoiled, and not, taking everything for granted in the sense that, okay, we're going every Sunday to temple, we're going for the program, we're understanding this, we're having our kirtan. And really now it's about appreciating it and doing it better than we used to. So I think this lockdown should just teach us, get a bit more fixed up with ourselves and our relationship with the Supreme Lord, with our spiritual master, with devotees, and develop relationships with people who you think are going to help you in your spiritual life, and it's like you have a few that you can always go to and just ask questions and get good answers, and you can make some advancement. Yeah, and I think this was like the perfect time for everybody to do that, because I hope so many people realize that, you know, it's not just you living here, you have your family, you have your husband, your wife, your children. It's not just about that relationship. There's other relationships deeper, you know, within our souls with the Supreme and all the different spiritual masters. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much for those final words there. Balaram, how are we doing for time? 10 minutes, 15 minutes?
Yeah, 10 or so, I'd say. Yeah.
Okay. So I just want to, you know, recap on some of the wonderful things that have been said here. I don't know if I got lost here because my phone battery. Am I still with you?
Yes.
So I'm going to work backwards here with Rukmini Mataji. This, you know, one of the powerful things you said that all of us, you know, should also, you know, make a note somewhere and print it and stick it on the kitchen wall or something. You said that you got to serve the Lord so nicely. Serve the Lord so nicely. You sound like, you know, you're a full-time ashram devotee now. You know, living in Mayapur, full-time service. Not to say that, you know, this wasn't the case before COVID, but it feels to me, and not being sentimental here, but it feels to me, and even Dwarkadish Prabhu echoed this very same thing earlier, about serving the deities so nicely, that he goes and, you know, picks flowers, and he's making this, you know, for him it's like a hunting trip to get all these nice flowers. So everything seems to have been magnified. Of course, you know, our weaknesses have been magnified, but also the opportunity to serve the deity has been magnified. It's become intensified. Obviously, it's sweeter. You know, some of us can go on japa walks on our road, up and down sometimes. So you said serving the deity so nicely, and we all can increase our quality of service. We all can intensify our attachment to the deities, taking from, you know, what you've just told us. And one thing also, Dr. Dishprabhu, you mentioned very nicely, like when you have children in Krishna consciousness, you find that you're going to have to defend them in school. He has to write a letter. We've written letters also, you know, for neck beads. Eventually, they had to get a permission kind of card from the headmaster's office with his stamp on it and his signature, you know, so and so. And I had 3 children in the same school, you know, almost simultaneously. And then each of them had one of these cards to protect them. You know, it's like a diplomatic immunity card. And there's, and that is such an important point, because one of the chapters, I never forget this, in Prabhupada Lilamrita, one of the chapters is entitled Chant and Fight. Prabhupada's whole message there is that we should not be afraid to defend our Krishna consciousness. And Dwarkadish Prabhu said it so beautifully, that we have to stand up, you know, for our values in Krishna consciousness. We have to defend. I wrote it down as defending our Krishna consciousness. So things like this, small things like this, Krishna is so pleased. Because if we compromise on the neck beads, we compromise on the sika, we compromise on the vegetables, who knows what Krishna consciousness will be down the road. So it's very important for us as the current practitioners of Krishna consciousness to defend, not only just defend in a fighting manner, but I don't mean in an aggressive manner, but to stand our ground on maintaining the principles of Krishna consciousness. Because remember, most of the devotees are Grihastas. Most of the Vaishnavas on the planet today, 99.98% are Grihastas living outside. In the early days, it was 100% lived in the temples. We know this. So, you know, so if we make changes outside on a large scale, then it affects the entire ISKCON. It affects the entire movement of Prabhupada. So we have to be careful to protect even the little things. Because if we give up the little things and we compromise on the little thing, then the next thing is a Grihasta will compromise on something a little bit more bigger and something even bigger. And then, you know, we're down to following the 3 regulative principles and the 2 regulative principles. Bhakti Chaitanya Swami actually mentioned this in a class one time. He said something about, there are some devotees who think that there's only 3 regulative principles, and who insist that they'll only follow 3 regulative principles. He said that, and he wasn't shy when he said it. So if we protect the little things, then we will protect the bigger things. But if you compromise on the little things, then we'll compromise on something a little bit bigger later, and something even bigger later. So that's our responsibility as Grihastas, to protect in that sense. So I really appreciate what you said there, Dwarkadishwar. So if anybody else wants to add, and I think I'll just take this time here to apologize for any over prodding. You know, BMI has a strong index finger, so if I poked you too hard in your ribs with a question, Dwarkadish Prabhu or Madhu or Rajeshwari or Riday, that's just for me to spur on conversation. It's not to agitate you or to maybe try to embarrass anybody. But I believe, like, like Prabhupada says, that this process of Krishna consciousness can be appreciated by a person who is thoroughly honest. So I believe there's complete transparency in our dialogues and conversations. Yeah, and if something that I said or anybody said that did offend you, please let us know offline, direct message us and give us the opportunity to apologize and maybe come over and wash your lotus feet and drink the water. So if somebody else wants to say something, I really appreciate that, because there's so many gems that have come out here. I'm not sure who else is yet to go. Balaram, who's next?
Balaram and Madhu.
Okay.
Am I saying or are you saying something first? I'm saying. I'd like to say we could have had this call on WhatsApp. I have all of you on WhatsApp. We could have had a video call. But I was just thinking of how this was so nice, even though it was small, but it was so nice because we set aside committed time for each other. We had a specific topic that we all needed to bring out from our minds and share with everyone. And I think that's such an important way to associate. So I know the odd phone call here and there is nice, but this was really special. And I don't think it would have happened the same way if we all just called each other in a very casual way. But because there was some intention, some sankalpa behind it, there's so much of nice ras that's coming out of this, spending time with everyone. So I'm very, very grateful for hearing all of you and for seeing everyone's faces. And I hope that as long as there's a lockdown, we can make this kind of thing happen a little more frequently, even if it's once a month. And we speak about this kind of thing. I mean, there's so many topics in Krishna consciousness. There's so many topics that can be applied to Krishna consciousness, even if it's not directly Krishna conscious. So yeah, that's my request and prayer to everyone, at least on this call, that we keep in touch like this, and we give each other our association, and we take in a more structured kind of sharing manner instead of just very casual and in a social way. That'll always be there. I always enjoy spending time with all of you in a social way, but this is, for me, this is almost more important right now, because this is what I miss. So thank you, everyone. Madhu.
I agree with Balaram. We're all on WhatsApp. We could have done.
Can't hear
Sorry,
what
the
you're saying.
sound.
Your sound is not.
Is it not okay now?
No.
You maybe sit closer to this phone.
Is it still not okay?
No. Sounds like a buzzing mosquito.
Okay, I'll
Maybe
just
it's your.
type.
It's perfect now. It's perfect.
We
now.
can hear
okay.
you now. We can hear you now.
Good.
Okay, I think I'm just gonna I'm agreeing with what everybody said on this call. Like, I took little things from everyone, and I think there's such gems of little valuable knowledge that I can use taking forward. I think for me going forward, I would like after this lockdown, I want to have more intent conversations, like Balaram was saying, that we all have each other on WhatsApp, but because we specifically made the intention that we were going to discuss this, we did it. And it would be nice to, like, when things go back to normal and when we can attend 3 Sunday programs a day, it would still be nice to have a little bit of time for intent conversations, intent learning, just intent sharing. And then another thing that Hriday and Bhima Prabhu and Brajeshwari spoke about was having that gratitude, and it is being grateful for, you know, they say that you never know the value of what you've lost out on until you lose it. And that's what we've done. That's what's happened to us. We don't have that close, intimate, in-person devotee association. So it's nice that it's nice to learn, but it's nice to be reminded that we need to put in that initiative to remember this and not just go back to the old ways of, associating with devotees. And the last thing that Hriday said was to continue serving devotees. Like he said, he still does it, but he wants to do it in a more focused way. And he said he would like to serve more senior devotees and just even continue having like the younger devotees over, but having it more focused. And I feel like those are really nice reminders of things that we already know theoretically. But I think for me, it'll be good to like put all these things into practice when the time is right. But yeah.
Thank you so much. We probably have about 5 minutes left.
If you have to push it to 5 minutes, then yeah.
Okay,
But no more.
so I just want, so 2 minutes actually, because all I'm going to do is highlight the amazing things that each of you have said. And, you know, something for us to plant into our hearts, definitely, because it's actually rooted in the philosophy. It's rooted in Shastra, serving the deity. I love that one. I mean, you know, there's a Nishingadev in your house, there's a Nishingadev in my house. There's, I believe, I've heard, there's a rumor, there's a Gaur Nitai and Brajeshwari and Hriday Chaitanya's house that have come recently, a recent addition to their family. So, you know, Madhu Sneha, we've got the privilege of having her mother's Laddu Gopal, 75-year-old Laddu Gopal, who was staying with us for some time. So again, you know, deities, serving the deities, especially growing up, you know, Hema and other future, you know, devotee children in the association of Gaur Nitai is just, this is like the highest service you can do. You know, Ayendra Chaitanya grew up in the company of deities. He grew up with God. You know, is there any better blessing than that? And their parents, you know, parents being devotees, Hriday and Brajeshwari being devotees. What more can a child ask for? To grow up with Vaishnavas, to grow up with the Lord, to grow up with Prasadam, to grow up with Kirtan. This is like the ultimate blessing for parents. It's also the ultimate blessing for a child to be born in that environment. Krishna is so pleased by this. So I really want to encourage all of you and also be really appreciative of, you know, devotees who are much more experienced than us in this dialogue and who have shared their realizations with us. The other thing that I love to bring out is this was somebody spoke about, this was I think maybe Brajeshwari speaking about enriching their association, enriching the association. So that's something it's a very wonderful word, you know, not merely to just associate in a casual way. You know, Parthasarathy Maharaj says that if you are casual in Krishna consciousness, you become a casualty. I think that's applicable in so many ways. So enriching our association, that's also extremely important and something we should plant into our heart. Many people spoke about being, you know, grateful and gratitude. And I'm taking these two theories here, you know, where Bhakti Chaitanya Maharaj mentioned, that said, and this is a mandate actually.
So we've lost Bhima Prabhu.
Let's give him a minute or so. So how are you doing?
All right, and you are you back in South Africa? Or are you still in sunny Kenya?
I'm in sunny South Africa.
It's really cold here. Are you in a t-shirt? Like I know Kenya's warmer.
It's I don't feel too cold. There's times when it's cold. At night it's cold, and in the morning it's cold. But during the day the sun is out. But I have a shawl. I have a shawl if I think Prabhu is, I think he's done. I think he left like a drop mic situation on us, yeah.
Yes.
But,
Maybe you want to wrap up.
Yeah, I'll just wrap up quickly. Thank you guys for giving us almost an hour and a half of your Sunday afternoons. It's very beautiful, very insightful. And like I said, hopefully we can do this more often and keep each other Krishna conscious and happy. And I think this wraps up the 4-week series that Vrajbasi Prabhu had in mind around Sadhu Sangha, the importance of Sadhu Sangha from the different perspectives of the different devotees. So yeah, for now we can say goodbye. Next week, I think he has a special session hosted by Prem Kishore Prabhu and possibly Bhima Prabhu, tag teaming around a very exciting topic also. So that'll be nice. And Prabhu is looking for interesting topics going forward throughout the year, next month and like that. So if anyone has any good ideas, please let us know and you can help us set up these conversations and panels. But until then, thank you all very much. Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha
Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nata Koti Vaishnava ki jai.